Welcome to Timeless Bedtime Tales, where history whispers and night carries the stories of forgotten worlds. Tonight, let your breath soften, your mind quieten, and your body grow heavy with rest. Because we are traveling far, far back in time to the city of Pompeii. The night air over Pompeii is warm and still, the kind of softness that settles gently on the skin after a long summer day. The sun has already slipped behind the distant hills, leaving the sky washed in deep shades of blue and fading gold. Stone streets, worn smooth by countless footsteps, slowly release the heat they have held all day. Lamps begin to glow one by one, small pools of amber light reflecting on marble walls and painted doorways. Pompeii is not a city that expects anything unusual tonight. It has lived with the quiet presence of Mount Vesuvius for generations, its broad slopes rising calmly against the horizon. The mountain has always been there, silent and watchful, more familiar than threatening. No one in the city believes that it could change the rhythm of life that has continued for decades. Homes begin to settle into evening routines. Wooden shutters close softly, and the murmured conversations of families drift into the streets. Somewhere nearby, a pot of lentils simmers slowly, its scent mixing with baked bread and olive oil. In an inner courtyard, a fountain trickles gently, the sound steady and reassuring, echoing against stone walls that have witnessed countless similar nights. Merchants return from the forum, folding their cloths and counting coins by lamplight. The marketplace itself grows quiet, its columns casting long shadows across the ground. The day's noise fades away, replaced by the softer sounds of evening, footsteps, distant laughter, the occasional bark of a dog settling down to sleep. In one home, a father reclines on a couch, tired but content, listening to his children whisper as they prepare for bed. In another, a woman carefully oils a lamp, adjusting the wick so it will burn evenly through the night. Life moves at an unhurried pace, each small action familiar and comforting. Beyond the city walls, vineyards stretch out across the land, their leaves darkening under the night sky. The air smells faintly of earth and ripening grapes. Farmers rest after long days of work, unaware that the ground beneath them holds a story still untold. Even the animals are calm, curled into sleep, breathing slowly in the warmth of the night. The streets of Pompeii glow softly now, illuminated by lanterns hanging near doorways and shops. Painted murals of gods and myths watch silently as passers-by move beneath them. These walls have seen celebrations, arguments, quiet moments, and years of ordinary life. Tonight feels no different from the thousands of nights before it. High above, the stars begin to appear, scattered across the sky in gentle patterns. The moon rises slowly, pale and unassuming, casting a silver sheen over rooftops and courtyards. Somewhere, music drifts faintly from a neighboring house, a soft melody played on a stringed instrument, slow and unhurried, fading into the distance. Mount Vesuvius stands dark against the sky, its peak barely visible. It seems asleep, just as it always has. The mountain gives no sign of what lies hidden within it, no sound or light to disturb the calm of the evening. For the people of Pompeii, it is simply part of the landscape, a silent companion to their lives. As the hours pass, the city grows quieter. Conversations fade, lamps are dimmed, and doors are barred for the night. Sleep settles gently over Pompeii, wrapping the city in a deep, peaceful stillness. Breathing slows. Dreams begin. Beneath the surface of the earth, far below the stone streets and tiled roofs, subtle movements stir. Heat shifts, pressure builds, unseen and unfelt. But above ground, the night remains calm, undisturbed by what cannot yet be known. The fountain continues its gentle song. The moonlight rests on silent streets. Pompeii sleeps, unaware that this ordinary night will soon become a moment frozen forever in time. The quiet deepens as the night moves forward. Even the soft footsteps that once echoed along the stone streets have disappeared. Inside the homes, bodies rest on woven beds, wrapped loosely in linen, breathing slow and steady. The air is heavy but familiar, the warmth of late summer lingering gently, making sleep come easily. In a small room near the edge of the city, a young boy stirs briefly, turning onto his side. Outside his window, the lantern's flame flickers as a faint breeze passes through the narrow street. Somewhere far away, the sea murmurs softly, waves brushing the shore in a rhythm older than memory. Pompeii has always lived between mountain and water, grounded and calm, balanced between earth and sky. Time moves quietly now, almost unnoticed. Hours pass without mark or meaning. The moon drifts higher, its light thinning as clouds slide lazily across the sky. The murals on the walls seem to soften in the dimness, colors blending into shadow. Gods painted centuries ago watch over the sleeping city, their faces serene and unchanging. Deep within the earth, pressure continues to gather. The mountain is not silent because it is peaceful, but because it is patient. The people above do not hear the distant groans of shifting rock or feel the slow tightening beneath their feet. To them, the ground is solid and eternal, as it has always been. A dog lifts its head briefly, ears twitching, then settles back down. A horse shifts its weight in a stable, exhaling slowly. These small movements pass without alarm, unnoticed by sleeping minds. The city remains wrapped in a gentle illusion of safety. Just before dawn, a faint tremor moves through the ground. It is subtle, almost tender, like the passing of a heavy cart in the distance. A few sleepers stir, but most remain asleep, drifting deeper into dreams. Such tremors are not new. Pompeii has felt them before and learned to ignore them. The sky begins to lighten at the horizon, a pale line forming where night slowly loosens its grip. Birds begin to stir among rooftops and gardens. Somewhere, a rooster calls softly, marking the approach of morning. The city prepares, unknowingly, for a day that will never fully arrive. As people wake, routines begin once more. Shutters open. A baker rises early, kneading dough by habit, his movements practiced and calm. Water is drawn from wells. Fires are lit. The scent of bread begins to drift through the streets, warm and comforting, promising another ordinary day. Mount Vesuvius watches over it all, unchanged in appearance. Its slopes are still green, its outline steady against the brightening sky. There is no smoke, no flame, nothing to suggest danger. Even now, it offers no warning that would stir fear or urgency. Then, without sound or ceremony, the moment arrives. A deep force releases itself beneath the mountain, powerful and sudden. The ground shudders, stronger than before, enough to rattle cups and crack plaster. People pause, glancing at one another, confused but not yet afraid. Before questions can form, the mountain opens. A column rises into the sky, vast and dark, reaching higher than clouds. Ash and stone are hurled upward, blotting out the sun. What was morning light turns instantly to shadow. The air grows thick, heavy, unfamiliar. Pompeii stands frozen, suspended between seconds. Some people look up in disbelief. Others turn toward their homes, instinct guiding them. The familiar world changes shape as ash begins to fall, soft at first, like gray snow. The sky darkens further. Sounds blur together, shouts, prayers, the distant roar of the mountain, but over time they begin to fade, swallowed by the falling ash. Streets grow harder to navigate as the ground becomes uneven, slippery, unfamiliar beneath bare feet. Inside homes, lamps are relit, though their glow struggles against the thickening darkness. People cover their mouths, their eyes stinging. Breath becomes shallow. The air, once warm and welcoming, now presses close and heavy. Ash settles everywhere, on rooftops, in courtyards, on the shoulders of statues and the painted eyes of gods. Pompeii is slowly transformed, layer by layer, into something still and silent. The city resists only briefly, overwhelmed by forces far greater than stone or will. Time loses meaning. Hours blend together as daylight disappears entirely. The sun exists somewhere beyond the ash-filled sky, unseen and unreachable. The city's familiar sounds fade one by one, replaced by a deep, muffled quiet. Eventually, movement slows. Streets vanish beneath drifting layers of gray. Doorways fill. Windows darken. Pompeii is no longer a place of voices and footsteps, but a shape remembered only by the earth. When the mountain finally grows quiet again, there is nothing left to hear. No wind moves through the streets. No water flows through fountains. The city rests beneath its covering, preserved in silence. Years pass. Centuries follow. Seasons change above the buried streets. Grass grows, then forests, then villages. The world moves on, unaware of what sleeps below. And beneath the earth, Pompeii remains exactly as it was in its final moments, beds unmade, loaves unfinished, footsteps halted mid-journey. A city paused, not in fear, but in ordinary life. Even now, in the deepest quiet, Pompeii rests peacefully, wrapped in ash and time, its story whispering softly through the ground, waiting for listening ears, waiting for sleep. Above the resting city, the land slowly forgets. Rain washes the ash into the soil, softening its edges, turning destruction into nourishment. Vines grow where streets once were. Roots wind gently through collapsed roofs and silent rooms, never knowing the lives they pass through. The mountain returns to its stillness, once again appearing calm, almost gentle, as if nothing unusual had ever occurred. Generations come and go. Children are born, grow old, and fade away without ever knowing what lies beneath their feet. Stories change, names change, empires rise and fall. The memory of Pompeii becomes thin and distant, mentioned only in fragments, half believed and slowly turning into legend. The buried city does not mind. It rests without expectation. Time moves differently underground. There is no morning or night, no seasons, no sound. Objects remain exactly where they were left. A cup still waits on a table. A doorway still opens into a room that will never again be entered. The silence is complete, but it is not empty. It is full of everything that once was. Centuries later, gentle disturbances begin again, not from the mountain, but from human curiosity. A tool strikes stone. Earth is moved carefully, deliberately. Light touches places it has not reached in nearly 2,000 years. Shapes slowly emerge from the ash, outlines of walls, streets, and doorways returning to the surface. As the city is uncovered, it does not awaken. It simply reveals itself, calmly and without resistance. Every detail remains honest and unchanged. The past speaks without words, showing daily life exactly as it was, unpolished and real. Pompeii does not tell a story of panic or chaos. It tells a story of routine, of ordinary moments gently interrupted. Those who walk its streets now move slowly and quietly, as if instinctively understanding that this place asks for respect. Footsteps echo softly where carts once rolled. Sunlight falls into courtyards again, warming stone that has waited centuries to feel it. Pompeii remains suspended between worlds, no longer alive, yet never truly gone. It stands as a reminder of how gently life can move, and how suddenly it can stop. And still, there is peace here. Not the peace of forgetting, but the peace of rest. As night falls once more over the uncovered streets, shadows stretch across the stones just as they did long ago. The mountain watches in silence. The air cools. And Pompeii, eternal in its stillness, settles once again into quiet, timeless sleep. Night after night, the quiet remains. The uncovered streets cool beneath the open sky, absorbing the softness of darkness just as they once did. Lamps no longer line the doorways, yet the moon provides enough light to trace the outlines of the city. Stone remembers where warmth once rested. Walls remember voices without needing to hear them again. The air moves gently now, passing through empty windows and along corridors that once carried laughter, arguments, and whispered prayers. Nothing rushes. Nothing disturbs. Pompeii exists in a state beyond hurry, beyond loss. It simply is. Those who visit during the day leave before evening settles in. When footsteps fade and gates close, the city belongs only to time. Shadows return to familiar places, stretching across thresholds and curling around columns. The silence deepens, not heavy, but calm, like a long breath finally released. Mount Vesuvius stands as it always has, unchanged in form, quiet in presence. It does not speak of what it did, and the city does not accuse. Between them is an understanding older than memory. The earth creates, and the earth takes back, slowly and without malice. Somewhere beneath a layer of stone, a room still holds the shape of a bed. Nearby, a street curves gently toward the Forum. These shapes do not demand attention. They rest comfortably in their stillness, content to remain as they are. Pompeii no longer waits for morning. It no longer prepares for work or celebration. It rests in a perfect pause, where nothing must happen next. The world above continues to move forward, but here, time has chosen to stop softly. And so the city remains, peaceful and complete, wrapped in silence, stone, and memory. Beneath the stars, beneath the watching mountain, Pompeii sleeps on, undisturbed, unchanged, and calm, forever held in the quiet embrace of the night. The silence that holds Pompeii is not empty. It is layered, gentle, and deep, like the quiet found beneath calm water. Every stone, every preserved doorway, every worn step holds the memory of motion without needing to move again. The city has learned how to rest completely, without longing and without regret. Long after visitors leave and darkness settles in, the air cools slowly, touching walls that once felt the warmth of human hands. Moonlight drifts across the Forum, tracing the outlines of columns that still stand with quiet dignity. The space where voices once echoed now accepts silence naturally, as if it were always meant to end this way. In one small home, uncovered centuries later, the imprint of a wooden table remains visible in the stone floor. It is an unremarkable detail, simple and ordinary, yet it carries the weight of daily life. Meals shared. Hands resting. Time passing gently. Nothing about it is dramatic, and that is exactly why it endures. Pompeii does not tell its story through destruction alone. It speaks through stillness. Through a loaf of bread preserved in ash. Through a doorway frozen open. Through streets that remember footsteps but no longer require them. The city holds its final moment not as an ending, but as a pause that never needed to resume. Above the ruins, the night sky turns slowly, stars following paths they have traced since before the city was built. Constellations rise and fall, indifferent to centuries. They watched Pompeii live. They watched it sleep. They continue to watch, quietly. The mountain remains present, broad and unmoving, its slopes dark against the sky. It no longer releases fire or ash. It simply exists, breathing slowly beneath layers of earth, as patient as time itself. The land has forgiven. The city has forgiven. Nothing here demands explanation anymore. Wind passes softly through the ruins, brushing over stone benches and empty archways. It carries no urgency. It does not hurry. It moves as if it understands that this place does not belong to motion anymore, only to memory and rest. Deep below the surface, where ash still presses gently against walls, the temperature never changes. There is no day or night, no season, no sound. Objects remain exactly as they were left. Not abandoned, just finished. A cup that will never be lifted again. A room that will never be entered again. Completion without sadness. Time above continues its endless rhythm. Empires rise. Cities grow louder and brighter. Roads expand, lights multiply, and the world becomes restless. But Pompeii remains untouched by that urgency. It offers something rare, a place where nothing must happen. Those who uncover it, study it, and walk through it often feel this without understanding why. Their voices soften. Their steps slow. Something about the city asks for quiet, not through command, but through presence. Pompeii teaches without speaking. As night deepens once more, shadows lengthen across the stones, settling into familiar shapes. The air cools evenly. The ruins darken, blending back into the land. From a distance, the city becomes nearly invisible again, just another shape resting beneath the stars. And so Pompeii returns, each night, to the same gentle state it has known for centuries. Not asleep in the way living cities sleep, waiting for morning, but resting in a deeper way, where waking is no longer required. It rests as a reminder that life is made of small moments, of ordinary days, of quiet routines. And that sometimes, history does not end with noise or chaos, but with silence settling softly, like ash falling slowly from a darkened sky. Pompeii does not dream. It does not remember actively. It simply remains. Complete. Still. Calm. Under the watching mountain, beneath the turning stars, wrapped in earth and time, the city continues its endless rest, holding its final breath gently, forever at peace, forever quiet, forever asleep. The calm that surrounds Pompeii feels deeper with every passing moment, as if the city has slowly learned how to hold silence the way the sea holds water. Nothing presses against it. Nothing interrupts it. The stones accept the night without resistance, cooling evenly, breathing in the darkness. In the open spaces where markets once bustled, the air now rests completely still. Columns stand like quiet witnesses, their shadows stretching gently across the ground. They no longer support roofs or shelter crowds, yet they remain upright, steady, patient. Time has not rushed them. It has simply placed its hand upon them and moved on. The pathways that once guided thousands of daily journeys now guide only moonlight. Each curve of stone is familiar to the earth beneath it, worn smooth by life and then sealed by stillness. Nothing here feels abandoned. Everything feels finished, as if the city gently completed its purpose and then chose to sleep. There is no fear in this place anymore. Whatever fear once existed dissolved long ago, carried away by centuries of quiet. What remains is a kind of softness, a sense that even endings can be gentle when time is allowed to move slowly enough. If one listens carefully, there is no sound to be heard, and yet the silence feels full. It holds the memory of water poured into bowls, of sandals brushing stone, of doors opening at the start of ordinary days. These memories do not repeat themselves. They simply rest, layered into the space like settled dust. Above, the sky continues its endless turning. Clouds drift without direction. Stars rise and fade. The moon changes its shape, night after night, century after century. All of it passes over Pompeii without disturbing it, like a blanket pulled carefully into place. The mountain remains nearby, its presence calm and unspoken. It no longer demands attention. It no longer needs to be watched. It stands as part of the land, just as the city stands as part of the earth. What happened between them has long since settled into understanding. In hidden rooms, uncovered and then left alone again, objects rest exactly where hands last placed them. They are not waiting. They are not expecting. They exist without purpose now, and that lack of purpose is their peace. Nothing is required of them anymore. The quiet here is not loneliness. It is rest. The kind of rest that comes only after all movement has finished, after every task has been completed, after every story has found its final shape. Pompeii does not ask to be remembered loudly. It is content to be known softly. Those who once lived here are no longer separate from the city. Their presence has blended into stone, ash, and air. The distinction between place and people has faded. Pompeii itself has become the memory, holding everything gently without judgment. As the night deepens further, darkness smooths the edges of the ruins. Shapes blur. Details fade. The city slowly becomes whole again, no longer broken into walls and streets, but returning to a single, quiet form resting against the land. There is no sense of waiting for dawn. Morning has no meaning here. Light will come, and light will go, but the city will remain unchanged. It does not respond to the passage of hours. It exists beyond them. And so Pompeii stays exactly as it is, balanced between presence and absence, between what was and what no longer needs to be. It rests not as a warning, not as a tragedy, but as a calm reminder of how softly life can settle when it is allowed to stop. Under the open sky, beneath the patient mountain, wrapped in the slow breath of time, Pompeii continues its endless rest, unmoving, untroubled, and perfectly still, as if the world itself has chosen this place to sleep forever. The stillness settles even more deeply now, spreading across Pompeii like a slow tide that never pulls back. It moves without sound, without effort, filling every space where motion once lived. Stone absorbs the quiet. Air holds it gently. Nothing resists. The streets, once carefully planned and walked each day, now exist only as memory etched into the earth. Their paths no longer lead anywhere, yet they feel complete, as if arrival is no longer necessary. Corners curve softly into shadow. Steps descend into darkness without expectation of return. Everything has reached its final place. In the remains of homes, rooms sit open to the sky, their walls broken but uncomplaining. Rain has fallen here thousands of times, washing surfaces clean, smoothing edges, carrying dust away grain by grain. Sunlight has passed through these spaces endlessly, warming floors, fading colors, then leaving again without leaving a mark. The city has learned how to accept every change without needing to react. There is a gentle balance here, between exposure and protection. Pompeii is no longer hidden, yet it is not fully revealed either. It exists in a quiet middle state, where nothing must be explained and nothing must be fixed. The city is not waiting to be restored. It is finished exactly as it is. Long ago, hands shaped these stones with care, lifting blocks into place, smoothing surfaces, painting walls with color and story. Those hands are gone, but their intention remains. The effort lingers, not as movement, but as presence. Every structure carries the calm focus of its creation, preserved far beyond the moment of its use. At night, the temperature drops slowly, evenly, without suddenness. Stone releases warmth patiently, as if aware that there is no need to hurry. The air becomes cool and steady. Darkness gathers gently, never sharply, settling into spaces the way sleep settles into the body. There are places where ash still clings thickly, untouched by tools or time. It presses softly against walls, holding them in place, maintaining the shape of rooms long emptied. This ash, once destructive, has become protective. It keeps everything exactly where it belongs, allowing nothing to shift, nothing to decay too quickly. Even destruction, given enough time, learns how to preserve. Above it all, the mountain continues its silent watch. It does not loom. It does not threaten. It simply exists, part of the same landscape that now includes ruins, grass, and sky. Its story and the city's story are no longer separate. They are layered together, inseparable, settled. The world beyond Pompeii moves faster with every passing century. Noise increases. Lights multiply. Speed becomes constant. Yet here, nothing accelerates. Pompeii remains immune to urgency. It offers a place where time loosened its grip and never returned to tighten it again. Those who come here often feel this change without words. Their breathing slows. Their movements soften. Conversations quiet naturally, as if the city itself asks for gentleness, not through rules, but through atmosphere. Pompeii does not demand silence. It inspires it. In certain corners, shadows remain even during the day, cool and deep. These shadows feel older than the ruins themselves, as if they existed before walls were built, waiting patiently for stone to give them shape. They do not hide anything. They simply rest. The concept of loss no longer applies here. Nothing is missing. Everything that was meant to remain has remained. Everything that was meant to pass has passed. The city does not grieve. It does not hope. It exists in a state beyond those needs. When the night grows late and the stars reach their highest point, the ruins seem to settle even further, as if sinking gently into the earth without moving at all. The boundaries between stone and soil blur. Pompeii becomes less a place and more a condition, a quiet held in physical form. There is no heartbeat here, yet there is rhythm. the slow cooling of stone, the steady turning of the sky, the patient breathing of the earth beneath. It is enough. It has always been enough. Pompeii does not ask to be remembered loudly or dramatically. It does not need its story retold with urgency. It simply offers its presence, calm and unchanging, to anyone willing to slow down enough to feel it. And so the city remains, night after night, century after century, held gently between earth and sky. Wrapped in silence. Anchored in stillness. Free from motion, free from need, free from time. Under the quiet stars, beside the resting mountain, Pompeii continues its endless sleep, not as something broken or lost, but as something complete, peaceful, and finally at rest. Before anything else stirs, before even the idea of morning forms somewhere beyond the horizon, Pompeii remains exactly as it has chosen to be, unmoving, unhurried, held gently in place by the passing of centuries. The city does not resist time, nor does it cling to it. Time flows around Pompeii now, like water around a stone that has settled comfortably at the bottom of a river. The ground beneath the streets feels dense and calm, layered with memory. Each grain of ash, each fragment of stone, rests where it fell, content to remain. Nothing presses upward. Nothing sinks further down. The earth has closed its hands softly around the city, not to trap it, but to keep it still. In the spaces where voices once overlapped, silence stretches smoothly from wall to wall. It does not echo. It does not feel hollow. It feels complete, as if it has grown naturally here over centuries, learning the shape of every room and corridor. Silence has become the city's final language. The remains of doorways frame nothing now but air and shadow, yet they still suggest movement without requiring it. They hint at entering and leaving, at beginnings and endings, while asking nothing more. The idea of passage remains, even when passage itself has stopped. Every surface bears the mark of time's gentle attention. Stones softened by rain. Edges rounded by wind. Colors faded evenly, without urgency. Nothing here has been rushed toward decay. Everything has been allowed to arrive slowly at stillness, step by step, year by year. There is no separation anymore between inside and outside. Roofs have opened to the sky. Walls lean into open space. The boundary between shelter and exposure has dissolved peacefully. Pompeii no longer needs protection. It no longer needs enclosure. It rests openly beneath the sky without fear. At night, when the air cools further, the temperature settles into the stones evenly, spreading through them without resistance. The ruins do not crack or shift. They accept the change quietly, the way something ancient accepts the familiar cycle of cooling and warming without thought. The stars overhead continue their endless movement, patterns shifting slowly across centuries. They watched Pompeii rise from earth and dust. They watched it fill with life. They watched it pause. Now they watch it rest, unchanged by their motion. The mountain nearby remains a presence without intention. Its slopes are dark, calm, softened by distance and time. It no longer feels like a force, only a form. Whatever energy once moved beneath it has settled back into the deeper rhythms of the earth, slow and patient beyond human measure. There is no tension left between mountain and city. What once happened has been fully absorbed into the land. Nothing waits to repeat. Nothing needs to be resolved. The balance has been restored through stillness rather than action. In places where ash once fell thickest, it still holds impressions, shapes where objects rested, spaces where bodies once were. These impressions do not shock or disturb. They exist quietly, without drama, like footprints on a beach long after the tide has gone out. Evidence without urgency. The idea of tragedy has softened here. What remains is not loss, but pause. Not destruction, but completion. Pompeii does not insist on being remembered for how it ended. It simply remains as it is, allowing those who encounter it to decide what it means. During the deepest part of night, when even distant sounds fade from the surrounding land, the ruins seem to draw inward slightly, as if settling more comfortably into themselves. Nothing moves, yet the sense of rest deepens, like a body sinking further into sleep. There are no dreams here. No recollections replaying themselves. Pompeii does not relive its final day. That moment has already finished its work. What exists now is beyond memory, beyond repetition. It is presence without awareness. The city's streets no longer lead anywhere in particular, and yet they feel purposeful. Their curves and crossings remain intact, not because they are needed, but because they were once made with care. That care still lingers, preserved in form rather than function. Even the concept of waiting has disappeared. Pompeii does not wait for discovery, restoration, or explanation. It is not incomplete without an audience. It rests whether it is observed or not, unchanged by attention. Above, the night continues its slow rotation. Some are far away, other cities glow with movement and light. Here, darkness remains soft and even, free of sharp edges or sudden shifts. The night feels permanent, yet never heavy. As hours pass, nothing accumulates. No tension builds. No moment approaches. Time drifts without destination, passing over Pompeii without leaving a trace. And so the city remains, settled fully into its final form, not abandoned, not broken, not lost, but finished. A place where motion has gently come to rest, where silence has learned every shape, where time itself has slowed enough to let sleep last forever. Under the quiet sky, beside the resting mountain, held in earth and calm, Pompeii continues its endless sleep, untouched by urgency, undisturbed by change, perfectly still, perfectly at peace. The quiet does not thin with repetition. It deepens, becoming smoother, more complete, as if every moment of stillness teaches the next how to rest more fully. Pompeii no longer exists within time the way living places do. It exists alongside time, unaffected by its passing, unmoved by its direction. The stones have forgotten weight. They no longer press downward or hold anything up. They simply remain where they are, balanced perfectly between earth and air. Cracks do not widen. Walls do not collapse further. The city has reached a point where change has slowed to nearly nothing, where motion has learned to be unnecessary. In the open spaces where sunlight once fell sharply at midday, darkness now spreads evenly at night, leaving no harsh contrast behind. Shadows soften, edges blur, and the city becomes less a collection of objects and more a single quiet shape resting on the land. Pompeii feels whole again, not because it has been repaired, but because nothing is missing from what it has become. The ground holds warmth long after the sun has gone, releasing it slowly, patiently, as if it understands there is no need to rush. This slow exchange continues night after night, season after season, a steady rhythm so gentle it can barely be felt. It is the rhythm of something that has nothing left to do. There are moments when the air seems almost motionless, as if even the wind has learned to pause here. When it does move, it glides softly, brushing past stone without sound, careful not to disturb the rest that has settled so deeply. The air itself behaves differently in this place, slower, quieter, more aware. Pompeii has become a place without intention. Nothing here points toward a future or pulls from a past. The usual tension between what was and what will be has dissolved completely. The city exists in a long, continuous present, unbroken and calm. The idea of ownership has faded. No one belongs to these streets anymore, and these streets belong to no one. They are free from use, free from purpose, free from expectation. Their only role now is to remain, and they perform that role perfectly. Somewhere beneath layers of stone and ash, spaces remain sealed, untouched even by discovery. They do not ask to be opened. They do not hide secrets that need to be known. They simply rest, content to remain unseen, holding their silence without strain. The earth above them is gentle. It does not press down harshly. It does not demand surrender. It supports, protects, and waits without impatience. The relationship between ground and ruin is no longer one of collapse, but of balance. As centuries pass unnoticed, the memory of Pompeii in the world above grows quieter, softer, less urgent. Yet the city itself does not fade. It does not depend on remembrance to exist. It remains whether it is spoken of or forgotten entirely. Night continues to arrive without announcement. Darkness settles smoothly, as predictable and calm as breath. The stars do not brighten here. They simply remain distant, steady, indifferent in a way that feels comforting rather than cold. The mountain nearby holds its shape without effort. Its presence has become neutral, neither threat nor guardian. It stands as another form of stillness, large and patient, sharing the same quiet state as the city below. There is no longer a boundary between what is natural and what was built. Stone walls and exposed earth blend together. Plants grow where they choose, slowly and without ambition, then stop. Even growth here has learned moderation. Pompeii does not remember its final day. That moment no longer has weight. It has settled into the same quiet layer as every other moment that came before it. Nothing stands out. Nothing repeats. Everything has equal stillness. Those who once walked these streets are no longer separate from them. Their presence has dissolved into the same silence, the same matter, the same calm. There is no distinction now between life and place. The city holds all of it without division. As the night deepens further, the ruins seem to draw inward, not collapsing, not shrinking, but settling more comfortably into themselves. The sensation is subtle, almost imagined, like the final adjustment before deep sleep. There is no need for dawn here. Light will come and go, but it will not change anything. Morning no longer begins anything, and night no longer ends anything. Both pass without consequence. Pompeii has reached a state beyond history. It is no longer an event or a lesson. It is simply a condition, a stillness given form, a pause made permanent, a silence that has learned how to last. And so, beneath the turning sky, beside the quiet mountain, wrapped gently in earth and air, the city remains exactly as it is. No movement required. No future waiting. No past calling. Pompeii rests, deeply and endlessly, not as something lost, but as something complete, held in calm, held in quiet, held forever in sleep. The rest deepens again, settling into layers so smooth they feel almost seamless. Pompeii no longer feels like a place shaped by hands or history. It feels like a natural formation, something that has always existed this way, as if the earth itself slowly decided to take this shape and then remain still. The stones do not remember effort anymore. Whatever strain once held roofs upright or supported heavy walls has long since dissolved. What remains is balance without tension. Each block rests exactly where it should, not because it must, but because there is nowhere else it needs to be. Silence here is not the absence of sound. It is a presence, steady and reliable, filling every space evenly. It does not surprise. It does not deepen suddenly. It remains constant, like a low, gentle current that carries nothing away and brings nothing in. The air moves only when it must, and even then it does so softly, brushing against surfaces without friction. There is no sharpness left in this place. Every edge has been softened by patience. Every surface has been given time to become calm. In the open courtyards, where sunlight once marked hours with precision, time no longer leaves shadows that matter. Light arrives, spreads gently, and leaves again without drawing attention to itself. Nothing here responds to it with urgency. The city does not wake when light comes, and it does not sleep deeper when darkness returns. Both are simply accepted. Pompeii has become something that does not react. Reaction belongs to living things, to movement and desire. Here, those impulses have settled completely. The city has reached a state where change is no longer necessary for balance. The streets curve and intersect without intention now. They no longer guide. They no longer connect. They simply exist as lines of stone resting on earth. Walking them does not lead anywhere new. Standing still on them feels just as complete. Some walls lean gently, not from weakness, but from rest. They have released the need to stand perfectly straight. They are comfortable in their position, supported by gravity rather than resisting it. This softness does not mean collapse. It means acceptance. The ash that once fell with force now rests lightly, part of the soil, part of the stone. It has lost all urgency. It no longer moves downward or presses inward. It has become still matter, no different from the ground beneath it. Even memory feels unnecessary here. The city does not need to recall itself to exist. It does not replay moments or preserve stories actively. Everything that mattered has already settled into form. Nothing needs to be remembered again. Above, the sky continues its endless rotation, but the movement feels distant, almost unrelated. Clouds pass without casting meaning. Stars appear and disappear without ceremony. The universe continues, but Pompeii does not need to follow it. The mountain nearby feels heavier now, not with threat, but with age. Its presence has thickened into something stable and slow, matching the pace of the ruins below. Both have learned how to remain without effort. No sound breaks the calm. Not because sound is forbidden, but because nothing produces it anymore. There is no friction, no collision, no impulse strong enough to create noise. The quiet holds itself naturally. The ground feels complete beneath the ruins, supportive without pressure. It does not shift or strain. It holds Pompeii gently, as if aware that this place has finished moving and does not need to be adjusted further. There is no sense of direction here. No forward, no backward. Only position. Only presence. The city exists exactly where it is, and that is enough. Night after night, this state repeats without becoming repetitive. Each moment of stillness feels fresh, unburdened by what came before. Time does not stack here. It spreads evenly, thinning itself out until it becomes almost invisible. Pompeii does not ask to be understood. Understanding implies effort, analysis, motion of thought. The city does not require that kind of attention. It simply allows itself to be felt, quietly and without instruction. Those who slow enough to sense it often notice a change in themselves. Breath steadies. Thoughts lengthen. Urgency loosens its grip. The city does nothing to cause this. Its stillness alone is enough. As darkness thickens once more, the ruins fade gently into shape rather than detail. Individual stones disappear into larger forms. Streets blend into ground. Walls blend into shadow. The city becomes whole again, not as parts, but as a single resting presence. Nothing arrives. Nothing departs. The balance holds. Pompeii remains in this state without effort, without desire, without motion. It does not sleep the way living things sleep, waiting to wake. It sleeps the way mountains sleep, the way earth sleeps, deeply and without interruption. And so the city continues, held gently by the land, untouched by urgency, untouched by time's demands. No beginning approaches. No ending waits. Under the open sky, beside the quiet mountain, wrapped in patient earth and steady air, Pompeii rests exactly as it is, complete, calm, and endlessly still, settled into a silence so deep it feels like peace itself, lasting without measure, lasting without need, lasting forever. The stillness holds without effort, as if it has always belonged here and never needed to arrive. Pompeii no longer feels like something that happened. It feels like something that settled, slowly and completely, into its final shape. The land does not remember struggle. It remembers balance. Stone surfaces cool further as the night stretches on, releasing the last warmth of the day in an even, patient way. Nothing cracks. Nothing tightens. The temperature changes are so gentle they feel intentional, as if the city itself regulates them, maintaining a steady calm that never sharpens or fades too quickly. In the wide spaces where public life once gathered, the openness now serves a different purpose. It allows quiet to spread uninterrupted. Silence has room here. It does not have to compress itself between lulls or soften around voices. It simply exists, full and unchallenged, filling the air evenly. The outlines of buildings blur slightly as darkness deepens, not because they are disappearing, but because definition is no longer necessary. The city does not need to be seen clearly to exist. It rests comfortably beyond clarity, beyond detail, beyond the need to be examined piece by piece. The earth beneath Pompeii feels dense and settled, layered carefully over centuries. It does not shift under pressure. It does not settle further. Everything has already found its resting place. Gravity has completed its work here and moved on. Even the concept of distance changes in this place. Streets that once felt long now feel contained. Courtyards that once felt open now feel close and intimate. Without movement, space no longer stretches or contracts. It simply remains consistent, held gently in place. The quiet is uninterrupted by thought. There is no internal noise here, no echo of intention or plan. The city exists without anticipation. Nothing is about to happen. Nothing has just happened. The present remains wide and still. Above, the stars continue their slow paths, but their motion feels ceremonial rather than active. They mark time without influencing it. Their light touches the ruins faintly, briefly, then moves on without leaving an impression. Pompeii does not respond. The mountain remains a dark shape nearby, neither looming nor distant. Its presence feels settled, grounded, fully integrated into the landscape. It does not carry the memory of fire anymore. It carries only mass and age and patience. The air grows cooler again, and the ruins accept it easily. Stone contracts gently, not resisting the change. Every material here has learned how to adapt without tension. There is no suddenness left in this place. Plants that grow among the ruins do so slowly, carefully, without ambition. They do not spread quickly. They do not compete. They rise, pause, and remain modest in their reach. Growth here has learned restraint. The remains of Pompeii no longer distinguish between what was once important and what was once ordinary. Everything shares the same stillness now. A grand column and a simple doorway rest with equal weight and equal quiet. Hierarchy has dissolved completely. Sound, when it exists at all, is so distant it feels imagined. A breeze far away. A faint movement beyond the ruins. These do not enter the city. They pass nearby without crossing into its calm center. There is no tension left between exposure and protection. Roofless rooms do not feel vulnerable. Open walls do not feel incomplete. Pompeii no longer needs shelter. It rests comfortably beneath the sky without fear of what might come. The city does not observe itself. It does not reflect. Awareness belongs to living things. Pompeii exists without it, and that absence feels peaceful rather than empty. Nothing here is required to notice anything else. The slow passage of time has polished this state into something smooth and unbroken. Centuries have passed without leaving seams. Each year has blended into the next until distinction disappeared entirely. Time has thinned itself here until it became nearly transparent. Those who encounter Pompeii often feel as though they have stepped outside the usual flow of hours. Clocks feel less relevant. Schedules soften. The body responds naturally, breathing deeper, slowing without instruction. The city does not cause this intentionally. Its stillness simply allows it. As the night reaches its deepest point, darkness feels complete but gentle. It does not press downward. It does not obscure harshly. It rests like a layer placed carefully over everything, protecting without covering. The shapes of streets and buildings dissolve further into the land, becoming part of the terrain rather than separate from it. Pompeii feels less like a constructed place and more like a natural formation shaped slowly by patience rather than force. There is no sense of absence here. Nothing feels missing. The city does not need its people back to feel whole. It does not need sound or movement or light to feel alive. Its completeness exists independently of those things. Even the idea of history feels distant. History implies sequence, cause, and effect. Pompeii has moved beyond sequence. It exists outside narrative now, held in a steady state that does not require explanation. The earth above and below remains calm, supporting the city without strain. It does not pull Pompeii downward or push it upward. It holds it exactly where it is, as if aware that movement would only disturb something already complete. As darkness continues without change, the ruins feel less like remains and more like a final form. Not broken, not unfinished, but resolved. Everything that needed to happen here has already happened. Nothing arrives to interrupt this balance. Nothing leaves to create emptiness. The stillness sustains itself naturally, requiring no effort, no maintenance, no attention. Pompeii remains held between earth and sky, not suspended, not trapped, but settled. A place where motion gently ended and never needed to begin again. Under the quiet stars, beside the resting mountain, surrounded by patient air and steady ground, the city continues its endless rest. Not waiting. Not remembering. Not changing. Just remaining, calm, complete, and deeply, endlessly still, wrapped in a silence so smooth and steady that it feels like the earth itself has chosen this place to pause forever, to breathe slowly, and to sleep without dreams, without disturbance, without end. The pause continues, unbroken and effortless, as if the world itself has agreed to move more quietly around this place. Pompeii no longer feels defined by what once happened here. It feels defined by what no longer needs to happen. The absence of motion has become its most natural state. Stone absorbs the night evenly, holding darkness without resistance. The roughness of walls and streets has softened over centuries, not erased, but eased into gentler forms. Every surface carries the patience of time, shaped slowly, without urgency, without pressure. Nothing here feels unfinished. The ground beneath the ruins remains firm and settled, layered carefully with ash, soil, and memory. It does not sink. It does not rise. It simply supports, evenly and quietly, as if aware that this place has found its final balance. Gravity itself feels calm here, no longer pulling or pressing, only holding. In the open spaces where people once gathered, the air rests completely still. There is no echo, no trace of sound lingering. Silence does not bounce or return. It settles and stays, like a gentle fog that never thickens or clears. It belongs here now. The shapes of buildings merge softly into one another as the night deepens further. Corners lose their sharpness. Lines blur gently. Pompeii becomes less a collection of structures and more a single presence resting against the land. The city feels whole again, not restored, but resolved. Above, the sky continues its slow, distant turning. Stars drift along paths older than memory, indifferent yet steady. Their light touches the ruins faintly, briefly, then moves on. Pompeii does not react. It does not need acknowledgement to remain. The mountain nearby feels heavy with stillness, not threat. Its mass presses gently into the earth, matching the calm of the city below. Whatever power once moved beneath it has long since settled into deeper rhythms, far beyond surface change. The mountain and the city share the same quiet now. Air temperature shifts almost imperceptibly, cooling stone a fraction at a time. The ruins accept this easily. There is no sudden contraction, no strain. Everything here has learned how to change without disturbance. Even change has slowed to a near stop. Plants growing among the stones do so carefully, without ambition. Their roots trace gentle paths through cracks, never forcing, never competing. They rise slowly, pause, and remain. Growth here respects stillness, adapting to it rather than challenging it. There is no hierarchy left in Pompeii. Grand spaces and modest rooms rest with equal weight. Importance has dissolved. Everything shares the same quiet value, the same calm presence. Nothing demands attention. Nothing claims significance over anything else. The idea of urgency has no meaning here. Nothing needs repair. Nothing needs explanation. Nothing needs to be preserved beyond simply being allowed to remain. Pompeii does not resist time, and time no longer presses against it. Those who come close often feel something loosen inside them. Breathing slows without instruction. Thoughts stretch and soften. The city does not cause this deliberately. Its stillness alone is enough. It offers quiet without asking anything in return. As the night deepens to its fullest point, darkness spreads evenly across the ruins. It does not hide or obscure. It smooths. It blends. The city becomes less defined, more unified, resting as a single form beneath the open sky. There is no sense of waiting for dawn. Morning has lost its role here. Light will arrive and leave, but it will not begin anything new or end anything old. The cycle continues without significance, passing gently over a place that no longer measures time in hours. Pompeii has moved beyond memory. It does not replay moments or hold on to stories actively. Everything that mattered has already settled into form. Nothing here needs to be recalled again. The city exists without thought, without awareness, and that absence feels peaceful. The silence remains uninterrupted. Not because sound is forbidden, but because nothing produces it. There is no friction, no movement, no collision. Quiet holds itself naturally, complete and self-sustaining. Even the concept of loss has faded. Nothing feels taken away. Everything that was meant to remain has remained. Everything that was meant to pass has passed. The city holds no tension between those states. The ground, the stone, the air, and the sky exist together in a steady balance. No force dominates. No element competes. Everything rests in its place, satisfied with stillness. As time continues to pass unnoticed, Pompeii feels less like a relic and more like a condition, a pause shaped into matter, a moment extended indefinitely. It does not instruct or warn. It simply exists. There is no anticipation here. No future approaches. No past calls out. The present stretches wide and calm, uninterrupted by sequence or direction. The city rests fully within it. Under the quiet stars, beside the patient mountain, supported by steady earth and softened air, Pompeii remains exactly as it is. Not sleeping in expectation of waking, but resting in completion. No movement required. No story needing continuation. No moment waiting to arrive. The city remains calm, settled, and whole, held in a silence so deep and gentle that it feels like the earth itself has chosen this place to pause, to breathe slowly, and to remain forever at rest, undisturbed, unchanged, and perfectly still. The stillness remains steady, unbroken by repetition or time. It does not thin or weaken as moments pass. Instead, it feels as though it has grown more settled, more confident in its place. Pompeii no longer feels like something left behind. It feels like something that has arrived exactly where it belongs. The stones rest without weight or strain. They no longer press into the earth or hold themselves upright through effort. Gravity has softened here, becoming less a force and more a gentle agreement between land and structure. Everything holds everything else without tension. The air lies quietly across the ruins, cool and even. It does not swirl or rush. When it moves, it does so slowly, carefully, as if aware that any sudden motion would feel unnecessary. The air has learned the pace of this place and follows it faithfully. Walls that once enclosed private lives now stand open to the sky without discomfort. They do not feel exposed. They feel complete. The idea of shelter has transformed here, no longer about protection, but about rest. Open rooms breathe easily, no longer separating inside from outside. The ground beneath Pompeii remains firm and calm, layered with ash and soil that have long since stopped shifting. Each layer supports the next, settled into a quiet harmony. The earth has finished rearranging itself here. What remains is balance. There are no sharp contrasts left. Light does not strike harshly. Shadow does not deepen suddenly. Everything transitions gently, gradually, without drawing attention. The city has smoothed itself into a state where nothing interrupts the calm. The mountain nearby stands without intention. Its presence feels neutral now, neither remembered nor forgotten. It exists simply as part of the land, its story folded into the same quiet that holds the city. Whatever once stirred beneath it has settled into deeper rhythms, far removed from the surface. Pompeii no longer holds the idea of purpose. Purpose belongs to motion, to planning, to the future. Here, those ideas have dissolved completely. The city exists without needing to do anything or become anything else. Streets lie where they were laid, their paths no longer guiding or leading. They do not ask to be walked. They do not promise arrival. They simply rest as lines of stone tracing the shape of a life that has already completed itself. In places where tools once shaped stone, the marks remain faint but steady. These impressions no longer speak of labor or effort. They speak only of care. Care that has outlasted the hands that gave it, resting quietly in form rather than memory. The silence here does not feel imposed. It feels natural, as if sound itself chose to withdraw gently and never return. There is no echo, no lingering vibration. Quiet settles evenly, filling every space without pressure. Even the idea of observation feels distant. Pompeii does not notice itself. It does not reflect or recall. Awareness has passed through and moved on, leaving behind a state that does not require attention to exist. The slow passage of time has polished this stillness into something smooth and continuous. There are no breaks or seams between moments. Centuries blend together without distinction. Time thins here, spreading itself evenly until it becomes almost invisible. Plants that grow among the ruins do so without urgency. They rise slowly, pause, and remain modest in their reach. They do not overtake or overwhelm. Growth has learned restraint in this place, matching the pace of stone and earth. There is no sense of absence. Nothing feels missing. The city does not long for sound or movement. It does not wait for life to return. It rests fully within itself, complete without addition or change. Above, the sky continues its endless cycle, clouds passing quietly, stars drifting without ceremony. Their movement feels distant, unrelated to the calm below. Pompeii does not respond to their presence. It remains steady regardless. The temperature shifts subtly as the night deepens, stone releasing warmth a fraction at a time. The change is so gentle it barely registers. Everything here has learned how to adapt without resistance. The ruins blend further into the land as darkness thickens. Individual shapes soften, merging into a single quiet form. Pompeii becomes less a collection of remains and more a natural contour of the earth, shaped by patience rather than force. There is no anticipation of dawn. Morning has no role here. Light will arrive and depart without altering anything. The city does not measure time by cycles anymore. It exists beyond sequence. Pompeii has moved past being a memory and beyond being a lesson. It does not instruct or warn. It does not explain itself. It simply remains, offering its stillness without demand. Those who come near often feel something shift within them, though nothing outward changes. Breathing slows. Thoughts stretch and soften. Urgency loosens its grip. The city does not cause this deliberately. Its calm is enough. The earth holds Pompeii gently, neither pulling it deeper nor pushing it upward. The balance is exact, effortless. Nothing here strains against anything else. As the night reaches its deepest quiet, the ruins seem to settle further, not moving, not sinking, but resting more completely into themselves. The sensation is subtle, like the final release before deep sleep. There is no dream here. No replay of moments. No return to what was. Pompeii rests beyond memory, beyond narrative, beyond need. The silence remains whole and uninterrupted. It sustains itself naturally, requiring no effort, no protection, no explanation. Under the quiet stars, beside the patient mountain, surrounded by steady earth and softened air, Pompeii continues its endless rest. Not waiting. Not remembering. Not changing. It remains exactly as it is, calm, complete, and deeply still, held in a silence so smooth and lasting that it feels as though the world itself has chosen this place to pause, to breathe slowly, and to sleep without end. The quiet reaches its final depth, not by becoming heavier, but by becoming effortless. Pompeii no longer settles further, because there is nowhere further to settle. It has reached a state of complete rest, the kind that does not deepen or fade, the kind that simply remains. Stone, ash, and earth exist together without separation now. What was once wall and street, roof and floor, has blended into a single calm presence. The city does not feel broken into pieces. It feels unified, whole in a way that does not require repair or attention. The night air rests lightly against the ruins, cool and even. It does not press or drift away. It stays, as if aware that this place has learned how to hold it perfectly. The air carries no sound, no echo, no hint of movement. It is simply there, supporting the stillness without disturbing it. Above, the sky continues its endless motion, but it feels far removed, like a distant rhythm that no longer reaches this place. Stars glide across darkness. Clouds pass slowly. None of it alters what rests below. Pompeii remains unchanged, untouched by the passing of hours. The mountain stands quietly nearby, no longer separate from the city it once overshadowed. Both have become part of the same silence, the same patience. Whatever energy once connected them has long since dissolved into deeper layers of earth, where nothing rushes and nothing awakens suddenly. The ground beneath Pompeii feels complete, as if it has finished shaping itself around the city. There is no pressure, no movement, no settling left to do. Everything rests exactly where it belongs, held in place by balance rather than force. There is no memory playing itself back here. No final moments repeating. No images rising and fading. Pompeii does not relive its last day. That moment has already passed through time and been absorbed fully into stillness. What remains is not the end, but what came after the end, rest. The idea of beginning no longer applies. Nothing here is about to start. Nothing here needs to continue. The city exists beyond progress, beyond direction. It does not move forward or backward. It simply is. Silence fills the ruins without effort, without intention. It does not wait for sound to return. It does not push anything away. It holds its place naturally, like a calm-held breath that never needs to be released. The streets no longer lead anywhere, yet they feel complete. The spaces no longer serve a purpose, yet they feel resolved. The city does not require meaning anymore. It has moved beyond the need to explain itself. Those who sense this place, even briefly, often feel the same quiet settle within them. Breathing slows. Thoughts loosen. The constant pull of urgency fades. Not because the city asks for it, but because its stillness allows it. Pompeii offers nothing but presence. It does not teach through words or warnings. It does not demand attention. It simply remains, and in remaining, it offers rest. As the night holds steady, nothing shifts. No sound enters. No motion begins. The balance remains exact and undisturbed. The city does not sleep in anticipation of waking. It sleeps in completion. The kind of sleep that has no dreams, no alarms, no return to movement. The kind of sleep that belongs to mountains, to earth, to time itself. Under the open sky, beside the quiet mountain, held gently by steady ground and softened air, Pompeii rests fully and forever. No urgency. No memory. No change. Just calm. Just stillness. Just silence. And in that silence, the city remains unchanging, undisturbed, and at peace, settled gently into the earth, where nothing asks it to move again, and nothing ever will.